This is the Yacht Lounge podcast. Welcome aboard.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are tackling a really fascinating story. It's a kind of strategic mystery. We're talking about a billion-dollar hue, a specific color that is literally guarded as intellectual property.
It is a remarkable paradox, isn't it? There's a color out there, so specific, so precisely calibrated, that it's actually been legally trademarked.
So one company owns it.
One single company. No one else in the world can use that exact shade without, explicit commercial permission.
And this isn't some new chemical compound or a rare metal. We are just talking about a color, a hue, something so simple but at the same time so globally recognizable.
And it's not cobalt, it's not sky blue, and it is definitely not turquoise. It's something else entirely. Utterly distinct, unique, and, well, unrepeatable. It's Tiffany blue. The story of how this one shade got this iconic billion-dollar status. It's not just about aesthetics. It is a masterclass in long-term strategic branding.
So what made this single color such a huge risk? Because choosing a color is a real commitment. We're talking about strategy here, right? Not just picking a pretty paint swatch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To really get the value, you have to look past the romance of it all and focus on the strategic genius behind that original choice.
Yeah.
We have to go all the way back to the very beginning. New York City, 1837.
Okay, let's unpack that. 1837. What did the world even look like aesthetically for a luxury entrepreneur back then?
Well, it was austere, very functional. Charles Louis Tiffany, he's just a 25-year-old. He opens a small boutique with only $1,000, money he borrowed from his father. But Charles wasn't just interested in selling things. He was obsessed with aesthetic perfection, with standing out. And at that time, packaging was just practical. Brown paper, black ink, maybe some twine.
Utilitarian.
Exactly. It signaled utility, not aspiration.
And he wanted to signal the exact opposite. He wanted aspiration right out of the box.
Precisely. So when it came time to choose a color for his packaging, he rejected all of it, every convention. He needed a color that was a visual declaration, something that screamed exclusive without having to say a single word.
So where does the inspiration come from? The story usually goes back to nature, doesn't it?
The legend does, yes. It tells us he was inspired by the color of American robin eggs. That particular shade, robin's egg blue, was, a symbol of happiness and rebirth.
Yeah.
It was actually very popular in Victorian bridal jewelry at the time.
Okay, that's a romantic story, but let's put on our deep dive glasses. What was strategically genius about it? Why that specific shade of blue?
Because it was a silent revolution, just by being different. Just imagine walking down the street in 1840s New York. Everything is dark, muted, brown. And then suddenly this vibrant, brilliant, light blue box appears.
It would immediately catch your eye.
It signaled optimism, a complete break from that drab industrial norm. So it wasn't just a romantic choice. It was a genius move for market visibility right from the very start.
So that choice was brilliant for visibility, for brand association. I get that. But that's just step one. How did he protect it? How did he stop every other jeweler in New York from just, using a similar blue? How did it become his color?
And that is the real stroke of genius. It was exclusivity through saturation. Charles understood that the color couldn't just be beautiful. It had to become his property, synonymous with his brand.
He had to train the consumer to see the color and instantly know the source.
Exactly. He didn't just use it for the fancy jewelry boxes. He started using it on everything. Ribbons, letterhead, advertisements, and this is crucial, even on the walls inside his stores.
On the walls?
Yes. He saturated every possible touch point with that specific shade. He made it visually inescapable for his elite clientele.
So he was basically building brand equity before that was even a concept people talked about.
And doing it required relentless consistency. Every single batch of blue was studied, calibrated, protected, almost like a state secret inside the company. Then, in 1845, he takes a critical step. He publishes the first blue book.
A catalog.
More than a catalog, it was. Well, it was described at the time as an aesthetic declaration of war. That blue, on every page, every cover, it became the badge of absolute, uncompromising exclusivity.
That level of meticulous focus on brand guidelines for over a century is it's astonishing.
Isn't it strange? Think about it. How many times have you been in a store and recognized a Tiffany box from, 30 feet away? Before you can even read the name on it.
Oh, all the time.
What's the psychological function of that color in that split second?
It's like an irresistible visual call. It just, instantly brings up luxury, elegance, dreams. The blue short-circuits your brain.
It sells the dream before you even see the product.
Yeah.
The color becomes a shortcut for quality, for status, and that cue works across every language, every culture, instantly.
And Charles made it clear from the start that no one else could use that shade, though I imagine enforcing that for decades must have been a challenge.
It was enforced internally, almost like a proprietary recipe, like the formula for Coca-Cola, but visual. The exact formula for the color was a closely guarded secret for over 100 years. Competitors tried to copy it, of course, but the key was maintaining that absolute visual consistency.
But okay, protecting a color as a company secret is one thing. How do you legally own a shade? Globally. I mean, colors are a finite spectrum. You can't just claim one forever. That seems like a massive legal hurdle.
And that's where the deep dive really gets interesting. The journey from a corporate secret to enforceable intellectual property was long, it was complex. The crucial date here is 1998.
Wait, 1998, so they operated for more than 160 years just relying on secrecy and brand association, only to lock it down legally at the end of the 20th century.
Exactly. And the reason it took so long is because trademark law usually argues that a color is functional. You can't trademark the color red on a fire truck because that color signals an emergency function.
Right, or green for an army vehicle because that's camouflage.
That's the core legal principle. So to trademark a color, you have to prove it's non-functional, that its only purpose is to identify the single source of the goods.
It has to acquire what they call secondary meaning.
Precisely. They had to demonstrate to the courts that this specific blue on a box or a bag no longer just meant a box or a nice shade of blue. It had to unequivocally mean Tiffany & Co.
And they successfully proved that decades of saturation had completely changed the public's perception of the color.
They did. And this was huge. When the color was finally registered as a trademark, it was one of the first times in the world that a shade was transformed into intellectual property, a corporate asset they could defend in court globally. They didn't just buy a color, they essentially patented a visual identity.
So do we actually know the technical name for this billion-dollar shade?
We do. To ensure consistency for its partners, though it was never revealed publicly to customers, the shade is known in the Pantone matching system as PMS 1837C.
1837, the year Charles Louis Tiffany founded the company.
And even that, the Pantone number itself is a genius branding move, isn't it?
Yeah.
They linked the technical standard for the color directly to their own founding year. They embedded their history into the chemical formula.
So the color wasn't just beautiful. It was meticulously engineered from day one to be synonymous with history and ownership.
In a way, a perfect choice is one that becomes eternal. And that color has stayed virtually identical, that precise PMS 1837C for over 180 years. It proves that some perfect choices, they just never age.
That durability is a huge part of its power. Let's talk about the cultural power of it today. What does that little glue box represent beyond the jewelry inside?
Well, the cultural icon status is undeniable. You see its emotional power in films like Breakfast at Tiffany's. When Audrey Hepburn's character is gazing into the window, she isn't just looking at diamonds. She's dreaming of the world that blue represents. Timeless elegance, absolute quality, that whole aspirational life.
The box itself is the symbol of the promise.
It is, and that recognition is global. It's become a universal language. In Japan, they call it Tiffany Iro, which means Tiffany color. In France, it's Blue Tiffany. It might be the only color in the world that consumers everywhere know by a brand's name. No translation needed.
The financial legacy of that, of maintaining that clarity for so long, especially now that it's trademarked, it must be staggering.
It is. That trademarked color is literally worth billions today. It acts as a guaranteed source identifier. You don't even need any other branding. Every time you see that blue, you are looking at the result of nearly 2 centuries of meticulous strategy, of passion, and pure commercial genius.
So this deep dive really shows it's so much more than just packaging. It's the story of how a specific, brilliant shade became a cultural dream, how one simple idea can cross centuries and just keep growing in power and value.
And that leads to the ultimate insight, I think, about what true luxury strategy is. True luxury isn't just owning something expensive, it is instantly recognizing perfection when you see it. And that blue, that specific robin's egg shade linked to 1837, that is pure, enduring perfection.
A truly masterful blend of history, psychology, and some very ironclad IP law.
You'd never guess.
Yeah.
But sometimes, beauty that is authentic and strategically managed needs no explanation at all.
Join us on Substack, where Yacht Lounge continues.